All right, I'm going to go ahead and call the October Planning Commission meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody here. Justin, you've got your attendance there. Then I think we'll go ahead and start with the first order of business is the minutes from the previous meeting. And I'll entertain a motion for those.
It's Cody. I'll make a motion for approval.
Okay, we have a motion.
It's Don, I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the last meeting. All those in favor, acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. All right, we do have item number 1 here. That's vacation of an easement between Lot 9, Phase 2, and Lot 17, Phase 3 of the Center Addition located at 1301 Venus Drive, submitted by Dale Lindsay. You have a staff report on that, Sarah?
Yes, sir. So we have a vacation of approximately 85 feet in length of a 10-foot easement. You'll see in that yellow box there, there's the 2 lines. That's the 10-foot easement, those dotted lines, and this is one property because they have recombined it. And so they're wanting to vacate that 10-foot utility easement there. The existing conditions are that the subdivisions were originally platted in 2008 and 2017. The utilities were proposed to be installed in the easement. However, they were installed in the right-of-way instead. And the house on the lot in question is existing and wishes to build an accessory structure. There is not an impact on the circulation, access, utilities, or open space as a result of this request. The only impact regarding the vacation is to allow the homeowner the ability to develop this portion of his property, and the city benefits by reducing the amount of property the city could potentially be responsible to maintain. So as a result, staff does recommend forwarding this application to City Council as a result that there is not an impact to the public trust, land use impacts, and no adverse effect to the public benefit. There were no objections filed by any utility company for the vacation, and there's no current installations within the easement prohibiting the vacation of the 10-foot utility easement. And that is my staff report. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Is Mr. Lindsay here, or is anybody representing? Yeah, go ahead and step forward if you would and identify yourself for the record.
My name is Dale Lindsay. I purchased the property just recently, about 5 months ago, and moving from Camden to Russellville to see some grandbabies grow up. And when I purchased the lot behind me, which was 17, and had it replatted, they found there was a 10-foot easement between the property. And if you were to look at the property, you can't see it from the plats, but it's got a elevation going downward toward my property now. And for me to build a shop on it that would be reflected just like my house looks, possibly a 32 by 28 shop. I'm going to need some dirt work, and I did not want the shop too far back from the house. So that easement, I would be wanting to place possibly the front of the shop in that easement. I realize I could probably just go to the edge of the easement, but since there's no utilities in the easement, it was found when the platting was done that Crafton and Tull didn't even know it still existed. And I believe also the city did not even know it still existed, the Planning Commission. But I would just like to vacate that for my assurance that I could build my shop closer to the house instead of back on top of the hill.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Sarah, or?
I'd make a motion, we approve the vacation as recommended by staff.
All right. Commissioner Choate has made a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Smith seconds it. Okay. All those in favor, acknowledge by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. All right, next item. We have a memorandum of understanding to allow a portion of a 10 by 20 portable canopy in its existing 10-foot alley located at 1401 North Arkansas Avenue, submitted by Barrett and Associates on behalf of Feltner's Whataburger. Sarah, take it away.
Yes, so during the pandemic, Whataburger came to the city and asked to place a couple portable structures. And so this application is a result of staff conditionally approving an application for them to put that structure behind their building. Initially, we were asking to vacate the alley behind the property that they're utilizing. However, there were some struggles to get all the paperwork signed by the adjoining property owner, and have since found out that water and sewer lines run in this alley. And so instead, the application is to request a memorandum of understanding. It's to allow the continued use of the 5 feet of public unopened alley for a portable canopy structure along North Arkansas Avenue. As you can see in this picture, you can't even tell that that's an alley because there's parking back there. They actually utilize a portion of the adjacent property. They have an agreement with the adjacent property owner to utilize a portion of that area for their parking. And this building was built back in 1973. We did, like I just mentioned, conditionally approve that portable structure to help alleviate requirements from the COVID-19 restrictions. And this application will allow this structure and other structures identified to remain. So their application is just for the structure. But as you see, here's Whataburger. We're all familiar with it. But as you see in this picture here, there is the portable structure, but you also see other HVAC type units in that alley. And so this memorandum of understanding would actually grant use of that entire 5 foot for whatever they have in there, this HVAC unit and this portable unit or canopy. And so the MOU, we always have 8 conditions. It's a license assignable only for the allowance of the portion of the main building. I did forget to mention that there is a portion of the main building that's actually in the right-of-way as well. So we're just going to clean all of that up with this. So it's a license is assignable only for the allowance of the portion of the main building located within the right-of-way and the portable canopy structure and the HVAC units currently located within the alley running north and south behind the building. The licensee shall not gain an interest in the land by the granting of this license. Future improvements of the right-of-way may require the licensee to abstain from using land that this agreement may cover. Not that we have any plans to do any improvements at this time. The licensee agrees that any expenditures of the licensee within the public right-of-way shall not be performed on the reliance of this license. The licensee agrees that there are not any interest in the land to be coupled with this license. The licensee shall not expand any more development within the public right-of-way than what is already presented as part of this application. The license is revocable at any time, and the licensee understands and agrees that any improvement to the property owned by the city and covered by the license shall be solely at the owner's expense and shall not be reimbursed by the city. So as a result, it is staff's recommendation to forward this application to City Council with the previously presented conditions. As a result, Whataburger has been using that area of the alley for the portable structure since 2020 and other portions of their building within the alley for many years. There are no plans to open the alley behind this location, and vacating the right-of-way in this location is not feasible due to utility locations and adjacent property ownership. That is my staff report. Are there any questions?
All right, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Dave, you got anything to add to that?
Just a point of clarification, because we do have a survey. The building's not over, so that's a good deal. But everything else Sarah said is correct. The the air conditioning unit and the awning is, and I think there's a few other little structure or items in there, but the building's good, so that's a good
Randy's
thing.
good with all this too? I mean, he's on board? So, good deal. I don't think anybody in this room doesn't appreciate a good double-double, so commissioners, what's your pleasure? Yes.
Does that number 8 on that item that you showed us, does that mean that if they have to go in there and fix the utilities or anything, they can remove that portable cover and the owner has to put that back on at his expense? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir, it would be at the owner's expense if something came in. The lines are not under, from what I understand, the lines are not actually under where the portable canopy structure is. However, I don't believe that portable canopy structure has been completely attached to the ground, and so they could feasibly move it if they needed to repair any lines.
All right. Any other questions?
Ms. Black, I'll make a motion for approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Black to approve. Do I hear a second?
That is with the conditions, correct?
With staff approval, yes.
I'll second it.
All right. All right, Commissioner Jackamore seconded that. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. All right. We have the next item here is a special use permit to allow warehousing inside storage only, existing building business in a CNC or CNS zone located at 1605 North Phoenix, submitted by Perihelion Solar and on behalf of Tim Carr. Sarah, you want to give us a staff report on that?
Absolutely. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with this application. We have seen, first there was an attempt to rezone the property, then we've updated the table of permitted uses. And so this is the final step in that, where the table of permitted uses required in warehousing inside storage only in an existing building by special use permit. And so we are here to hear that application for the special use permit. And as part of that, we are going to be providing a path forward for them to put solar panels on, to install a new sign, and have the electrical vehicle charging stations. As you see here, there's an existing picture of what we see when we drive down Phoenix. It's the climbing gym. And there is their proposed signage. And then it's from an odd angle. This is taken from the ground of what kind of electric vehicle charging station they are considering. It's not quite as big as it's
Where is that
like-
going to be located? Where's that charging station going to be?
It's going to
exactly?
be in the front of the building. Can you see so it's going to be in this front area here.
Okay.
Okay. So with that, so the existing conditions, as you mentioned, this is located within the conservation zone, and it's included within the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers sump area. Development is vastly limited within the conservation zone as a result. This structure was originally permitted by the Corps of Engineers for a 30 by 60 metal storage building. With a revised letter from the Corps of Engineers, they are permitting the structure to remain with the addition of the attached solar panels, signage, and 2 vehicle charging stations. As you are familiar with this area, there is a multi-use trail adjacent to the structure connecting ATU and the Aquatic Center to the Bonadilla trails to the north. Surrounding land are all pasture land or parkland. So as we went through, and this is a little bit more in depth because it is a unique application, is to utilize the existing building with the addition of solar panels for electricity, signage, and the electric vehicle charging station. It is a permitted use. We will require an incidental subdivision because it's currently a meets and bounds property. And the owner or the applicant has already been informed that that will need to include how they get access to the right-of-way because otherwise it's a landlocked property. Their parking that they're proposing will need to include 1 ADA space for access to the building. As we reviewed this, as you know, this has been a building that has been there for many years. Due to the restrictions with the Corps of Engineers, when we reviewed Article 3.20 for commercial building design, since the only improvements proposed are to potentially paint the building to change its color, to put the signage, and to have solar panels on it. It's a unique building characteristic of farm use, which was originally used. It does seem to be in visual harmony with the area, and there's no discernible benefit that we would gain by requiring full compliance with this section of the code. And we are making an alteration to the hard surface requirement. Typically, parking lots have to be hard surfaced, but in conversation with the U.S. Corps of Engineers, they did not want any of the parking lot hard surfaced. And so we've come to an agreement as a condition of the special use permit that parking will be limited to 4 parking spaces. One of those will have to be ADA accessible, connecting the driveway and the parking spaces allowed by the Corps. Anything to the side of the building and to the rear of the building will remain gravel or undeveloped.
What was the reason for the Corps not wanting a hard surface on that? I mean, is it,
Great question. So the Corps does not want hard surface typically in the conservation zone because hard surface reduces the amount of it's impervious, and so the water doesn't seep down into the ground as easily or freely. And so they did not want to inadvertently raise the water surface elevation within the sump area, but they were amenable to the 4 parking spaces and connecting that driveway so that as you drive onto the property, it will be hard surface, but everything else will remain remain gravel or undeveloped.
thank you.
Yes. Okay, so then the next thing, signs are not permitted in the CNS zone. The only way for staff to review and permit a sign is as a condition of the special use permit. So we provided guidelines for the signage in accordance with a C2, which is highway commercial zone. That allows 2 square feet for every 1 linear foot of building face. So the building face is 62 feet long. They're allowed 124 square feet, assuming the C2 zone sign allowance is something that the commission is willing to approve. So the applicant has supplied this drawing. The perihelion at the top is 12 feet by 3 feet, which is 35 square feet. The solar power systems is proposed at 25 feet by 3.5 feet, which is 87.5 square feet, for a total of 122.5 square feet. Typically, you would not see an application with this much information, but since it's not permitted, this is the only way for us to be able to permit a sign in that zone. So as a result, we do recommend forwarding this to City Council with the approval of limiting the hard surface to provide parking for the 4 spaces in front of the building and driveway connection only. All other remaining surface remain gravel or undeveloped. Provide approval for the facade sign in accordance with the requirement for a C2 zone with a permit required. Provide approval for the installation of the 2 electric vehicle charging stations. Again, electrical permits required for that. Require the incidental subdivision, including the easement showing access from Phoenix Avenue. And this approval provides that it's a storage facility per the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. As a result of the findings that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers submitted a letter of support regarding the proposed use with solar panels, sign, and charging stations. The proposed use allows an existing structure to be utilized instead of becoming a dilapidated structure, and current traffic routes are constructed in such a way to handle traffic from the business. And that is my staff report.
All right, thank
Are
you,
there any
Sarah.
questions?
Andy, do you have anything you want to add to that? Or is it just like you wanted? Okay. All right. Okay, commissioners, what's your pleasure?
I'd recommend we approve it as
Okay,
she has suggested by staff.
okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Choate to approve with the staff's conditions. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. We have a second. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. All right. Next item we are looking at is large-scale development located at 614 SR 247, submitted by Barrett and Associates on behalf of Grace Manufacturing. Sarah, you got a staff report?
Certainly do. So this is a large-scale development for Grace Manufacturing. They are adding a storage building. It's off to the right on this drawing. So the existing conditions, it is zoned M1, which is light industrial, and this is manufacturing facility previously existed prior to being annexed. It is located in the Arkansas River Industrial District. They did complete a large-scale development in 2015, which required update to parking lot as a result of an expansion at that time. It is currently a meets and bounds property. However, if they're able to provide a deed that's dated prior to May 14th, 1998, then they do not need to go through the incidental subdivision process. And with the exception of the driveway, as you can kind of see in the background of this slide, it's not visible from the highway. So I'm keeping this short and sweet because you can't see it. There's no need to make them come into compliance with commercial building design, so staff recommends approval with the condition that they apply for it and complete an incidental subdivision if required. As a result of the findings that the applicant demonstrates compliance with the regulations of Article 2.10 of the Russellville Zoning Code, and the applicant demonstrates compliance with the regulations within Section 7 of the Land Subdivision and Development Code. That's my staff report. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Sarah. Dave, you have anything to add to that? No. Okay. All right.
This is Don. I'm making a motion to approve as presented.
All right. Commissioner Jackamore makes a motion to approve. Do I hear a second? Second. All right. Who made that? Okay. So, Commissioner Monfy made a second there. All those in favor, acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. All right. Next item. We have a large-scale development located in the 3300 block of Bernice Avenue, submitted by Barrett and Associates on behalf of Randy Bearfield. Sarah, you want to talk about that one some more?
I certainly would love to. So this is the large-scale development application for Bearfield Mini Storage. It is down there at the corner, or the intersection of South Hartford and Bernice Avenue. It is shown on this plan as being Speed Shop Road, if you look at that. We have had discussions with Mr. Garza and through him to the owner, and have worked out moving the driveway. So one of the conditions in the staff report, in my presentations, as you can see on this, they have moved the alignment of the driveway to line up with the driveway across the street for Denali Water. Thank you. It's probably on one of my next slides. So this is Zone 2. It's heavy industrial. It is in the Arkansas River Industrial District. It's self-storage. Mini storage is a permitted use in the M2 zone. It is, as we talked earlier, most of the commercial development is on the north side of the road because this is historically the old Russellville landfill and has only recently been released for development. And as I stated, it's at the corner of Bernice and South Hartford. South Hartford is not currently developed to city road standards. Not sure if you've driven down there, but I advise caution if you do.
South Hartford or South Frankfurt?
It's South Hartford.
Hartford, okay.
They showed it on the plans as Speed Shop Road. So review comments, no building permit will be issued to a meets and bound property, and they are proposing to do an incidental subdivision. We do need the regional proposed pond location, which is off-site, to have an easement noted on the plat so that that's in perpetuity and useful in the future. The applicant did realign the driveway, as I just talked to you, with the driveway across the street. Commercial building design is being proposed and should be met along Bernice. And South Hartford is a public right-of-way, although it is substandard. Commercial building design should be addressed where feasible along this right-of-way as well. I understand that it's a storage unit, so there's a bunch of doors. It might be limited to what they can do, but it is a right-of-way. At some point, it will develop. Excuse me. This is in the alignment of the multi-use trail, so a multi-use trail along the frontage will be required or an acceptance on the in lieu of fee. If you approve this application, and the Board of Adjustment comes in and does a variance, that won't affect what you approve here with this application. And no actual parking spaces were proposed. At the Planning Commission's discretion, there is sufficient hard surface to accommodate any parking for this facility, and so you have discretion to approve this with no actual parking. They do show in the top area here, it's hard to see, there is a turnaround area, and so if someone pulls in, you could potentially park there for a moment if you needed to, but there's plenty of hard surface area. Essentially, this mini storage is all concrete, so they could park anywhere. It is similar to the other mini storages that they have on West Main. So there's the proposed building facade along West Main street frontage. And so they're using the same design as they used for that one at this location. So you can expect similar fencing. You can expect similar building facade at this location. So staff does recommend approval with the following conditions. They have already met the first one, to align that entrance with the driveway to Denali Water Solutions, provide that private drainage easement for off-site detention, and complete that incidental subdivision. As a result of the findings that the applicant demonstrates compliance with the regulations of Article 2.10 of the Russellville Zoning Code, and the applicant demonstrates compliance with the regulations within Section 7 of the Land Subdivision Development Code. That is my staff report. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Sarah. Dave, do you have anything you want to add to that one? Okay. Go ahead. I know you do.
This is Cody. I'll make a motion for approval of staff's recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Black. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Did you have a question?
No, I was just
Okay.
curious, just for Mr. Bedford, that detention pond, that's similar as the one you did on Main?
Okay. All right, all those in favor acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. All right, next item. We have a vacation of a portion of East 4th Street right-of-way between Lot 7 and 12 of Block 25 and Lot 2 of Block 38 of the Pointer Edition submitted by Barrett and Associates on behalf of Jose Aguilar. Sarah, you got a report on that one?
I do have a report, and I apologize that there's no pretty PowerPoint for the rest of these. I will do better in the future. I think it's helpful to see pictures sometimes. However, the rest of these applications were pretty straightforward. So this is vacating right-of-way along East 4th Street between South Pittsburgh and South Quincy. There's only a small section of right-of-way, and it is unopened. If you have driven out there, South Pittsburgh actually ends. I don't think you can drive down to this section of right-of-way. There's no... when the impact is, what is the impact of the proposed vacation? And there's no impact except it reduces the potential burden on the city to maintain right-of-ways. And this one's unopened, it's forested, and so it just returns that back to the property owners. I'm going to keep it short and sweet because this is in an area that there's really no impact, and so staff does recommend forward this application to City Council for approval to vacate East 4th Street right-of-way between South Pittsburgh and South Quincy as a result of the findings that there's not an impact to the public trust, land use impacts, and there are no adverse impacts to the public benefit. There's no objections filed by any of the utility companies for the vacation, and there's no current installations within the easement prohibiting the vacation of the unopened right-of-way. And that is my staff report.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. All right. Dave, you got anything on that one? Okay. All right. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Sarah or Mr. Garza? What's your pleasure?
This is Don. I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Jackmore to approve with the staff, or with the staff's conditions. Do I hear a second? Who was that? Is it Shirley? No, it's Shirley. All right. Okay, we have a second. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. All right. Everybody will turn their page. We got 3 more on the back here. All right, the next item is a vacation of an alley in Block 11 along lots 6 through 9 of the Harris Agricultural School addition, submitted by Barrett and Associates on behalf of Joyce Davis. Sarah, you got a staff report for us?
Yes, sir. So this application is being brought to the Planning Commission to vacate the alley between 229 East J and 223 East J. This is just 1 block over from the Veterans Park over there off of Detroit. The alley to the north has already been vacated. And then there's a couple properties in between the alley to the north that has been vacated, and there's no reason to keep this property open. There's no impact to the city if we vacate it. It just returns maintenance responsibility back from the city to the property owner. So as the similar vacation, staff recommends forwarding this application to City Council for approval to vacate the alley between 229 and 223 East J Street as a result that there is not an impact to the public trust, land use impacts, and no adverse effects to the public benefit. There's no objections filed by any of the utility companies, and there's no current installations within the easement prohibiting the vacation of the unopened right-of-way. And that is my staff report. Are there any questions?
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Dave, you got anything you need to add to that? Okay. All right, Commissioners, do you have any questions for Sarah or for Mr. Garza?
Mr. Don, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Okay. We have a motion to approve as presented by staff. Commissioner Choate seconds. All those in favor, acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. All right. Next, we have vacation to reduce right-of-way width of South Greenwich, located in between East 5th and East 6th Street, submitted by Barrett and Associates on behalf of 5th and Greenwich Church. Okay. Sarah, you got a staff report?
Yes, sir. So this application kind of came to the Planning Commission in a roundabout way because the Planning Commission has already heard this application several years ago. It went to City Council for a public hearing and then died somewhere along the lines. And so with that, this is a request to vacate property on either side of the right-of-way along South Greenwich Avenue. There is a change from the staff report. It was brought to my attention that there is a sewer line. Can you show this image, please? There is a sewer line just south of their parking lot and activity center that heads to the east from South Greenwich. And so City Corps is going to want to retain a 15-foot easement for existing sewer line, which is approximately in the middle of the block as you see on this. So that's a slight change from the staff report that you received to review. Thank you. And so with that, we're hoping that you would forward this application to City Council for approval with the condition that the applicant retains a 15-foot sewer line easement. As a result, that there's not an impact to the public trust, land use impacts, no adverse effects to the public benefit. There was an objection filed to retain that 15-foot easement. I was already in this building setting up for this meeting when I got that call. So apologize for no changes to the staff report on that, but staff does still recommend forwarding this to City Council with the condition to retain that 15-foot easement, otherwise vacating the remainder of the right-of-way. And that is my staff report. Are there any questions?
All right. Dave, you have anything to add on that one? You are on that one too, right? Yeah, okay. You're on every one of them, right?
When this was brought forward, this was at the time that Kathy Collins quit or retired. And then we had the older lady, I can't remember her name. She was the city clerk. Well, it went through planning commission, but then it never got put on the city council. She didn't know it was supposed to go there. So the next month, we finally got it on there. And then they figured out, oh, we have to have a public hearing. So then the next month.
When was this, Dave?
Oh, this was early, 2019?
Oh, okay, a couple years ago.
When was it?
All right.
17.
17?
It was a
Okay.
while back. So I called, I talked to Mayor back then. Mayor Harris was not mayor at the time. And they said, yeah, we'll take care of it, we'll take care of it, okay. So we all thought it was taken care of, even so much so that it's on the plats. It's on the city's map system as vacated. But then we have a new, the church, the west side is going to buy that church for a Spanish mission. Shiloh has moved into their new building up on Shiloh Road. And so they were asking for a copy of that plat, and we couldn't find the ordinance. So that's why.
You didn't find any action where the planning commission had even voted? I mean, where.
Yeah, the planning commission did,
We
but we
did?
couldn't find the ordinance where it was actually.
Shirley, you were here
closed.
back then. I mean, do you remember that? I don't remember it myself, but, I mean, if we did and it got forward, I mean, it'd be nice to know what we did then, I mean.
Yeah, I
that
mean,
way-
the planning commission, we went
I
through
don't want that to
smooth,
turn
it
up
was
later
fine.
and then,
It
but,
went through the planning commission, and from what I can tell, it did have that 15-foot easement delineated on their plan.
gotcha.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think the alley's still there. I'm not sure
Yeah,
the alley
it's-
has been closed, so
yeah,
I don't
that's-
think they were asking for that part.
Well,
Right, yeah, it's for parking. They decided, well, let's close that. Since it's 80 foot, let's close 15 on each side, and it's parking, so that way the city doesn't have to maintain it, they maintain it.
right.
And that was the whole purpose of it. But it fell through at the city council levels where it really just kind of went crazy. It did, it was crazy.
All right. Anybody got any questions for Dave on
Yeah,
this?
the alley's still open.
What's your pleasure, gentlemen, ladies?
Right there? Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Smith makes a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
That's with retaining the easement, right?
What's that?
That's with retaining the easement for city court?
Yes. Yeah.
Good deal. Second that.
All right. Commissioner Choate seconds that. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. All right. Let's see here. We have a rezoning from a R2 to R3 located at 2600 block of West 12th Street, submitted by Barrett and Associates on behalf of Victoria Baldwin. Sarah, one more time.
Oh, is this the last
That's
item on the
it.
agenda?
That's
I have
it.
it open twice, and I was thinking there were 2 more agenda items, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
This is a rezoning request. It really shouldn't be a rezoning request. It really should be R3. If you've driven by, you will notice that on either side of this property, there are apartments and multifamily structures already existing, and even as the applicant has indicated on their application, effectively, this is all in R3 zone. However, it's not. It's all R2, and if the applicant wants to build the duplex development that he is proposing, he does have to go through this rezoning process. And so as we go through with a rezoning, you have to look at future and current land uses, the comprehensive plan, and any income potential of the property. Again, it shouldn't be a rezoning. It should already be R3. However, we'll just kind of go through future and current uses. It is a residential part of town. Everything to the north is essentially R1. Everything this side of 12th is R2, which should be R3. You can say it's really in alignment with the comprehensive plan because we are looking at suburban multifamily, we're looking at suburban single-family. As you look at these areas, we really tried to look at Russellville and just say, hey, it's suburban residential, trying to allow flexibility. This area, we didn't do that so much, and for some reason, just this little sliver shows that it should be single-family, but functionality, it doesn't, and either side is suburban multifamily, so I would be able to say that I'm comfortable saying that this is really suburban multifamily on the comprehensive plan. It is, in my opinion, in alignment with that. And then if you look at the value or income potential, changing the zone from R2 to R3 may increase the income potential of the property. However, it really seems in line, if you've driven by there, like I said, with the other uses on that south side of 12th Street. And so as a result of that review, staff does recommend that the commission forward this application to City Council with approval, or with a recommendation of approval from R2 to R3, because it is in line with existing and future land uses in the area. It mostly aligns with the Reimagine Russellville 2040 Comprehensive Plan, and there's really not a value or income potential increase since this is all existing in the area. So that is my staff report. Are there any questions?
Sarah, is this the only sliver, like you said, I mean, I think you may have said this, but is this the only sliver that is currently R2? I mean, I know it's surrounded by multifamily on both sides.
Well, both sides are actually R2. And so you would, if you were looking at what is actually there, both sides are R2. Everything to the north is R1. You would, if you were looking at just the map and not considering the uses in the area, you would say this is spot zoning, because you are changing a section of land to R3. However, I know you have all been familiar with several of the apartment units that have already recently gone from rezoning requests because they've had to make changes and needed building permits or needed to be in conformance with codes for banking regulations. They've changed from R2 to R3. Most likely, the property surrounding will have to, at some point, come in for a rezoning request to change from R2 to R3 because they're not in compliance with the codes right now. And so,
Is this something that we need to look at, now? I mean, or quicker, sooner than later, so we're not having to come back in and do individual spot zones every single time?
yes, potentially.
All right,
I would make a motion for approval as presented.
okay. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Black to approve. Do I hear a second? Okay, Commissioner Choate seconds that. All those in favor, acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. This is one of those things that's just gonna be you're putting fires out left and right. I mean, when you do, like you said, spot zoning, I guess you're going in and, you're gonna find this everywhere and if you looked at the zoning map, there's a lot of properties that are, out of, where they ought to be, I guess, so, but.
Unfortunately, yes, that is very much the case.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. All right, commissioners, if we don't have anything else, we're gonna go ahead and call it a night. We are adjourned.